Hi guys, it's Arielle. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you guys are all doing well. Welcome to the first podcast of 2025. The first podcast in a while. Um, you know, I was scrolling on Instagram last week, and I don't know if you guys remember, but in one of my videos last summer when I was showing you my favorite stores in Paris on my main channel, I talked about my favorite chocolatier who had unfortunately had to close his shop for financial reasons. And then as I was scrolling Instagram last week, I saw that he was selling these kits to make a galette de roi, which is like traditional pastry that people eat in France at the start of the new year. And I thought, you know what better way to get back into the swing of doing my podcast than to just relax, make the galette with you guys, and chit chat about pretty much the past 2 months. I will also add that the reason I finally have time to film this podcast is because Jean's actually out this weekend. He's visiting some of his friends in Bordeaux. And one of my resolutions, like one of the things that I promised Jean as soon as I got back from Greece, was that I would stop working until 3 in the morning during the week and that I would stop working 7 days a week. And so I've been pretty diligent about not working like literally 7 out of 7 days, which means that I'm so limited for time. I really didn't think this would be such an issue, but the amount of daylight we have compared to summer is just so drastic. Like, as of late, the sun has been rising at, like, okay, maybe it rises at 8, but there isn't enough actual light to film until 9 or 10 in the morning. And then by 3 p.m., there's not enough sun. Like, right now it is 4. Okay, the sun is supposed to set around 5, but you can already tell there's not enough light to film. And so it just means that I have so much less time to film a podcast. So yeah, that's why I think is one of the reasons why it's been so hard for me to be consistent with the podcast, is that like it's just finding the daylight has been hard. And so yeah, now that Jaws in here this weekend, I'm like, freedom to work 7 days this week. But yeah, I guess it's not really work because we get to bake something fun. I am so excited. The kit that my favorite chocolatier sells, whose name, by the way, is Le Furet Tanrad. He's a chocolatier that's been open for almost 300 years. I think obviously he hasn't been the owner for 300 years, but it's like a chocolate house, a chocolate name that's been around for almost 300 years. The 300-year anniversary is coming up in, I think, 3 years, so 297, which is crazy. But yeah, he's operating now from the Marché Saint-Quentin. I think that's the name of it. It's in the 10th arrondissement, so I highly recommend that you go grab some chocolates and some pastries. This is what his kit looks like. You have the pâte d'amande, which is the almond paste. You have 2 puff pastry balls of dough. You have simple syrup. And of course, the crown and the fève to hide inside. Fève in English means bean. So there must be some sort of historical reason why this is called the fève, but basically it is a little clay figure that you hide in the galette, and when you cut it, the youngest child of the family goes under the table and they distribute all of the pieces of the galette, and the person who has the piece with the fève in it gets to wear the crown. And actually, let me show you some of the other fèves that I have. These are all the fèves that Jean and I have collected over the past 3 years. My favorite one is definitely going to be this cupcake, but also this sanglier, which means boar in English, is so stinking cute. I won this one. It was Jean versus me. We had a small galette des rois just to share between the two of us. And we actually bought this one from also Le Furet Tanrad at his market, like a pre-cooked galette. And I won. So yeah, there's your French culture for the day. Okay, so unfortunately, I think I'm gonna have to clip on this mic to bake. I know a lot of people, like, I see it all the time in the comments on my second channel, on my main channel. Everyone's always like, Arielle, just clip it on to your top. But the thing is, and you'll hear the difference, is there is a huge sound difference between holding the mic in front of you versus clipping it underneath your mouth. Like, it just sounds a little bit more muffled. Maybe you guys don't hear as much, and I hate to draw attention to it, but when you are editing videos and you have like a headset on, you can hear it. You can hear the difference. So that's why I hold my mic for the most part. But yeah, I think I'm gonna need my hands to cook. I hate it. Hold on. I think if I just sit this on top of the spice rack, it might have the same effect as me holding it. Risky business, but we're gonna try. Speaking of my hand and holding the mic, my hand is doing much better. Thank you for your messages on Instagram, emails, messages through my website. I really appreciate it. I'll be honest, it sent me into a terrible mood for pretty much 2 weeks, because essentially what happened is, as you guys know if you saw my video on my main channel, is that I broke my hand while I was skating at the Grand Palais, and as soon as I fell, I knew that it was broken, and this is the second time I've broken my hand, and so it's not like an excruciating pain. I wasn't upset about the pain. I was upset about having to live through another long amount of time without sports, without properly being able to use my dominant hand. And I was just thinking of all these other consequences. For example, in my most recent video on my main channel where I showed you 5 different restaurants that I love in Paris, I knew that I was supposed to be interviewing the head chef at my favorite restaurant, and this was just like a dream for me. I couldn't believe that I was getting the opportunity to interview the chef. And immediately I was just like, how am I going to hold the camera, film things, act and look professional with this cast? It's not really a cast. I guess it's a splint. I don't know. In French, it's called an attel. So I was worried about that. And another thing that made me so upset was that, like, almost a year ago, my friends and I with Jean, we all planned and paid for a ski trip. And as soon as I fell, as soon as I injured myself, I knew I wouldn't be skiing. I wouldn't be going on this trip. And it's just like, it's so upsetting that a 30-second movement, a 30-second mistake has such a huge impact for so long. Like, for a hand to heal, it takes between 6 and 8 weeks of wearing this attel, and then you have like physiotherapy, you can't get back into sports right away and stuff. And the thing is, this is not the first time this year I've broken my hand. This is the second time that I have broken my right hand. Plus, if you guys remember, like just a little bit over a year ago when I got back from Greece, I also had an operation on my middle finger that got infected, and that was also a 2-month recovery. So in a span of 13 months, I have had my right hand out of operations for almost 9 months, which is like, that is crazy. And it's hard because like my podcast, my channels, my business, like I'm a one-woman show, is so hard to not be able to work properly. And I love sports, right? I can't do my boxing, I can't do my basketball. Like, I don't know, it's just all of these things, and you feel so helpless and so angry in the moment. And yeah, I don't know what week we're going on. I don't know, probably week 4 or 5. No, not 5, I wish. Probably week 3 or 4 of my hand healing, and it feels much better for sure. I can see, you know, the end approaching, which is nice, but it's been really hard mentally to deal with another broken hand, which is crazy. Okay, all right, let's start baking. The first thing I have to do is I have to roll both of these doughs out to 28 centimeters. And I was gonna flour my surface, but they don't feel super sticky. No, let's cover our bases. Let's flour the surface. This is actually the first time that I'm really baking or cooking since I broke my hand. Jean, as you guys know, is the best boyfriend. He is really an angel, and before he left this weekend, he made sure I had meals cooked and ready in the fridge because it is really hard for me. Like, okay, using a rolling pin isn't hard, but things like peeling vegetables, washing dishes, all that kind of stuff is honestly very hard for me. And so yeah, he was so sweet. He cooked me a sweet potato, salmon, spinach quiche. He made me my favorite chicken salad. So yeah, this is really the first time that I'm cooking, and I'm hoping that I'll have the galette done. I mean, of course it'll be done because he's coming home tomorrow, but hopefully I can surprise him with this galette. So I obviously really wanted to go and buy the Furet Tanrad Galette des Rois kit, but I was also really looking forward to speaking with Alain, who is the chocolate pastry chef who runs the Furet Tanrad, because I've wanted to interview him for a while. I hope you guys get this sense on my main channel from all the stores and the restaurants that I sort of highlight on my channel, is that I'm really, really, really focused on elevating small businesses, artisans, and French culture in a way, like pastry making, chocolate making, cuisine, all of that is, like, they're very important parts of French gastronomy and culture. And so I really wanted to interview or ask Alain if he would do an interview for me on my main channel, so we could talk a little bit more about the chocolate making process and, you know, what goes on behind the scenes of a Parisian chocolate maker. And honestly, it was an extremely sad conversation. Hold on, let me just measure this and I'll tell you about that sad conversation. Okay, we want 28 centimeters. Oh, we're at 15. So basically, I explained to Alain what the goal of my channel was, how I really like to share parts of French culture, French gastronomy, French cooking, all of that with my viewers on my YouTube channel. And I showed him a couple examples of, like, me interviewing the chef at Meha and, you know, the boutiques that I also interviewed this summer. And he shared a little bit about his story with me, about how, you know, like a lot of small businesses after the pandemic, he really found himself in financial hardship, and that's why he ended up having to close his store. And he's, like, at the age of retirement, and he was saying, you know, I'm at the age of retirement, but I'm preparing the celebration of 300 years of this chocolate house. And he was saying to me that he did have an offer from someone, I guess, what do you call that, a financial investor? Someone who wanted to, you know, buy the majority stock, I guess, of his brand. I don't know the business language, but who wanted to participate financially in the Furet Tanrad and to sort of help get the boutique, help get the chocolate shop back off the ground. But that this company that wanted to, why can't I think of the words? It's not help him financially. It's who wanted to own a part of the brand and be an investor. I think that's the word, be an investor. They were saying that they wanted to buy the brand name, but that they had no intention of actually making chocolate, that they were going to outsource the chocolate making somewhere overseas. So it wouldn't even be produced in France, it wouldn't be artisanal anymore, but they would have the luxury of being able to brand this imported product with a chocolate house name that is 300 years old. And so he was really devastated by this. He's like, how could someone just want to buy a name and not actually honor the practice and the tradition and the standard behind it, you know? So anyways, you guys will hear more from him on my main channel because I am going to go back and do an interview in a couple weeks. But I was really happy to see that he is in part open in the Marché de Saint-Quentin. We're close. We're at 24 centimeters. I think it's 28. Hold on. Let's double check. Yeah, 28. I thought as well I would ask you guys how you've been doing this winter season. And I ask this because I noticed that for myself personally, this is the first year where I have really understood what seasonal depression meant. For almost a month, I really just felt tired, constantly sad, demotivated, and empty. And I was like, this was even before I broke my hand. And I was like, what is going on? Like, I've never felt this way before. I've never found myself in such a rut, in such profound sadness, ever. And obviously I Googled it and I was reading other people's experience, and like, it sounded pretty much like seasonal depression. And the reason why it's just been so hard in Paris at the moment is because now, okay, today we had sun, which is nice. We've had a little bit more sun than usual, but for weeks it was gray skies, cloud, and rain. It was horrible. And you guys know, like, I love Greece. I love the sun. And it was just, I just have no motivation and no happiness when you can't even tell that the sun has risen because it's just gray all day, every day. And so I talked to my mom about it because on top of feeling that way, I was losing significant amounts of hair. Like, I would go in the shower, wash my hair, and just like clumps would fall out. And, you know, as someone who films, I talk about this quite a lot, but as someone who films myself all the time and who has to edit what I film, I see myself all the time, I put myself out there publicly, I do focus a lot more on my aesthetics. You know, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm losing hair. Like, do I need to get extensions to film? Like, I don't know, you just like, I worry a little bit more about the aesthetics than I would have if I wasn't, you know, posting on YouTube. So anyways, I was talking to my mom about it. Because I love talking to my mom and she gives great advice. And she was saying that her and her friends were having the exact same conversation, that they were feeling the exact same seasonal depression in Canada, in Toronto, and that she was also losing her hair. And so that's why I'm asking, like, how are you guys feeling this winter? Like, does it feel different to you? Like, different than years past? And even my best friend as well, especially the hair loss thing, like, I was talking to her about that, and she's losing her hair as well, and she has really thick, beautiful, curly hair. So it's like crazy. We're opposite in hair type, that she would also be experiencing the same issue. And we're obviously like Canada, France, we're not even on the same continent, you know, not even the same climate. I did, however, sort of rectify the dry hair issue. I started to do a little oil massage before I shower. So I combine 4 drops of rosemary essential oil with a couple tablespoons of almond oil. And I like massage it into my scalp and I leave it for, oh my gosh, probably 2 hours. And then I wash it out. And don't get me wrong, my hair is so greasy. There's a reason why this was my last resort, because my hair is so thin. As soon as I put any type of oil in my hair, it is stuck there for at least a week. So I knew this was gonna happen. I put it in my hair. When I was washing it out, I washed my hair 3 times. It was still covered in oil. So I just braided it and I lived in those braids for 3 days. I took them out. I washed my hair twice and we were back to normal. And I haven't lost nearly as much hair. So if you're also struggling, if you also feel like you've lost some hair this winter season, I can definitely say the oil massage helped a lot. But yeah, for a moment there, I really, really was feeling lost and confused. I really didn't understand how I felt so sad and how I could fix it. You know, like, if not seeing the sun is the problem, how can you fix your mood if you have no control of the sun? But I will say one thing that has recently really been giving me a little skip to my step is something that I never thought would actually be a serious part of my business. If you guys have been watching my main channel or my second channel for a while, you'd know, but essentially, like, the Spark Notes version of my life in the past couple years is that I got laid off my job, I opened my business, I started doing YouTube more seriously, then I opened my website where I started to create and sell itineraries, guides, and all of that. And since I launched my website, which I think I did in June of last year, I always had a little tab for consultation calls, but I never really talked about them on my channel, and I still don't talk about them. And, you know, in the winter months, no one is really looking for Paris travel help, like Paris travel help, trip planning help when it comes to Paris. But as soon as the new year rolled in, I had like a lineup of consultations. Like, people, and again, I don't even know how people found them because I really don't talk about them. It's like a little tab on my website. But I had so many calls in the first, we're the 8th today? Yeah, oh my gosh, like the first week of January for people who were planning trips in February, March, and April. And I think it's always, at least for me, when I was thinking about doing consultation calls, I think it's really hard because I don't necessarily see the complete value in the advice that I can give to people because it's my daily life. Like, I don't even think about the knowledge that I have of this city because it's just my day to day. But doing these calls just has fulfilled me in such a crazy way. I had my first call on the 1st of January. And right after, I spent like a week preparing for this call. I was like, this needs to be perfection. And as soon as it was over, I called my mom and I was like, Mom, I have found my new vocation. Like, I love this. I was born to talk to people about Paris. And honestly, the feedback that I'm getting has been so positive. People have booked multiple consultation calls to really be able to plan their whole trip in France and in Paris. And it's just, yeah, it's really been so fulfilling and so interesting to be able to do these consultation calls with you guys because everyone's trip is different and what everyone wants to see is different. And so it's so creative for me to like plan out a personalized itinerary based on everyone's individual requests and interests. So yeah, that has been popping off recently, and I think I'm gonna work more on my consultation calls and stuff because yeah, I didn't expect myself to feel so fulfilled by doing that, but I love it. I love it. And I'm also like, I'm the eldest child. I'm an overachiever in a lot of ways. And so the first call I had, I went into the call with like a 56 slide presentation. Like, any question they had, literally anything, I would have it covered in a slide. And because I don't advertise, like I didn't advertise that I create a travel deck and like a personalized itinerary and stuff, people were like so shocked and so thankful that I was doing that. But yeah, it's just been so much fun. So that's been cool. What else? I had a whole list. Literally, every time something happens, from the past 2 months, I've written it down in my little podcast notes file on my phone. I literally have so much to talk to. So even when I put this in the fridge, I put this in the oven, we'll have to sit down and like keep chatting. Oh my gosh, how could I forget? We literally had Christmas and New Year's Eve in the past 2 weeks. Christmas was it was Christmas. I think that Jean and I didn't really feel in the Christmas spirit because Jean had to work until the 24th. He couldn't leave Paris until the 24th at like 4 p.m., which meant that we were getting to his family's home in Fouras. Oh my gosh, we probably got there at 8 p.m. And yeah, because we were both working very much full time up until the 24th, we really didn't feel that we were in the holiday spirit. And also, I think it's hard to feel the holiday spirit when it is constantly rain. Like, for me personally, rain and Christmas just like don't go together. But yeah, so that was, it is what it is, you know? We all gotta work. But I think as well, like, especially because I broke my hand right before we went to Jean's family, I was really struggling. Actually, there was a moment when, not a moment, for days, I wasn't even gonna go. Like, I told Jean, I was like, obviously you go home and spend Christmas with your family, but I can't travel. I'm just gonna stay here and I'll, you know, stock the freezer with frozen foods, frozen meals. Like, there's no way I'm getting on a train, I'm going to your family, I'm packing, I'm unpacking. Like, it all seemed so overwhelming to me because when I broke my hand, I went to Emerge. And the doctor at Emerge said, there's a 50-50 chance you'll need surgery. I don't know, you'll have to go and see a surgeon. So he scheduled me an appointment with a surgeon a week after. And he said the only way that you can increase your chances of not needing the surgery is to rest and stay as immobilized as possible. And I obviously don't want to have like reconstructive hand surgery. So that's why I was like, John, there's no way that I would jeopardize that. Like, I should just stay home. And like, I couldn't even get a coat on. I couldn't even move my arm. Like, I was actually in a lot of pain and stuff. And so on the 24th, I hadn't packed. I was fully intending on staying in Paris. It was 2 p.m. or something, and Jean had to be at the train station by like 3:15. And I'm in the frozen food store, which is called Picard in France. They have all these different like frozen meals and frozen everything. And I was picking out my Christmas dinner for that night, and I just started crying. I couldn't even actually fathom that I was going to spend Christmas Eve by myself in Paris. And so I ran home, I packed my bags and sprinted to the train station with Jean and caught the train. But yeah, I was like pretty committed to the idea of like spending my Christmas alone. So I didn't do that, which was nice. And we spent it with Jean's family. But yeah, I really miss my family, and I miss Canada as well around the holidays because maybe not so much anymore because of climate change and, you know, the winters are a lot hotter than they were when I was a child, but Christmas has always been very synonymous to Canada for me because I remember like all of December playing in the snow, building a fort, my dad building us a snow slide in the backyard, going skating all the time. Even when I moved to Ottawa for my studies, like we had the Rideau Canal that you could skate on. It was just, for me, Canada and Christmas, it's like perfect. And even when we were a kid and stuff, with my parents, with my siblings, we would go to a Christmas tree farm and we'd cut down our own Christmas tree. And, you know, to get to the Christmas tree portion of the farm, you had to take a horse-drawn carriage and you can get hot chocolate. And it's just, these are memories that I cherish and I want to do them again with my family. And I also want to share that with Jean. So I think moving forward, we're going to probably try and spend Christmas with my family, especially because we spend obviously most of our time in France and in Paris. So I'd really love to be able to see my parents and my, you know, my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, my siblings, my grandma, my best friend. I'd love to be able to see them more around the holidays and Christmas. Oh yeah, remember why I wanted to talk about Christmas? Because I wanted to tell you guys what I got for Christmas. I got the best Christmas gifts. I really wanted to do a Christmas haul, but like I just didn't find the time and it felt really overwhelming and stuff. But so my parents and my grandma teamed up and they got me my dream pair of skates, which is ironic because when I took those skates to the Grand Palais to go and skate, that's when I broke my hand. It had nothing to do with the skates or anything like that. Like, you guys would have seen my video. It was just an extremely dangerous skating rink. But yeah, I'm excited for my hand to heal and to actually be able to go and use those skates. When I was buying them, I asked the saleswoman if she could recommend any rinks around Paris that weren't like event style rinks like the Grand Palais. And she actually told me that there is an outdoor rink open in the 15th arrondissement until March. And I was like, March? Really? And that is so up my alley. Like, when I was saying how we do a lot of skating in Canada, all the skating is on outdoor rinks. There's one under the highway, which doesn't sound great, but it's like this loop that you can do downtown Toronto. There's Harbourfront right beside Lake Ontario. You have the Loop, which is like a faux forest loop skating rink. Yeah, you just have so many different outdoor rinks, and that's like one of my biggest joys in the winter. So yeah, I'm excited to heal and go skating on that rink with Jean as well. Because he's also now a big fan of skating. And then from Jean's family, we got lots of chocolate, we got some bottles of wine, and his mom made me, because Jean's mom is just a wizard with a sewing machine, she made me a fanny pack, a kind of like, yeah, a bigger size fanny pack, which is good because I always like run around the city with my equipment, like my mics and all that, and it's hard to fit in a small Lululemon fanny pack. And she also made it out of this like faux sheep shearling cream colored material, which I love. So that was very cool. His grandma got me Christmas plates. What else? His dad got us some canned sardine. They're called rillettes. They're not sardines, but they're like a pulled fish kind of thing. It doesn't sound appetizing, but they're delicious. I think in France, you give more handmade, personalized gifts than like just going to the mall and stuff. Especially food gifts. Those are huge in France at the moment. Giving like baskets, pre-made baskets with jams, cheeses, liqueurs, fish, chocolates, all that. So, oh my gosh, and I want to tell you guys what we actually gave people for Christmas as well. Hold on. Let's... Okay, we're good. Moving on. Okay, next step, I have to sort of wet the outer ridge of both of them, the outer rim, because eventually you have to stick them together. And then we're going to add the pâte d'amande. You guys are gonna think I'm crazy, but like, I love making these podcasts. I love posting on my second channel, even though I don't always have time for it. And my first thought when I saw that Alain was selling these kits was like, oh my gosh, I should totally do this on my podcast, like make the galette with you guys. That was my first thought. So yeah, even if I don't post sometimes for a long time, I'm always thinking about you. I'm always thinking about the podcast. I don't know why I was calling this almond paste. It's frangipane, which I did Google, and the English translation is frangipane, which is not a word I had ever heard in English before, so maybe you guys know what frangipane is, but I think the reason I was calling it almond paste is because frangipane is, I think, made from almond paste. Okay, unfortunately, I think this was stupid. I think I should have removed both of these before, oh my gosh. We need to refocus. Why did I do this? Wait, I just realized that I didn't even wish you guys a Happy New Year's. I'm an idiot. Happy New Year's! Ah! Sometimes my main and my second channel blur for me in my head. Because I've already posted on my main channel. I'm stupid. Sorry, you guys. Happy New Year's. I hope you had a really good start to your year. I wish you health and happiness. and more successful baking than me right now. Okay, so back to Christmas, which is what we were talking about before everything derailed. Christmas this year, like I said, we weren't really feeling really in the Christmas spirit, like, I'll be honest. And when I say Christmas spirit, I mean that in two ways. One of the ways that the way I was feeling about Christmas and especially gifts is that I was kind of over the commercialism of Christmas, so to speak. I could see people running into stores in Paris and like doing all this last minute shopping, and just like even on TikTok and stuff too, just seeing people buy so much stuff for the holidays, like decorations, gifts, and it kind of gave me the ick, if I'm being honest. And I don't mean buying gifts in general, I just mean like massive gift hauls or like decoration hauls and stuff. You guys know me. Like, I love things that are homemade. I love DIY. And so this year for Christmas, I really went into gift giving with that kind of energy. About a week or two before we were going to go see Jean's family for Christmas, we bought all of these different cute jars and cookie tins, and we made everybody hot chocolate bombs, granola, and these delicious peppermint candy cane sugar cookies that we dyed red, green, and white and actually twist them into a candy cane shape, and they were so good. Who knew that you could add peppermint to cookies? But my goodness, it was delicious. And so yeah, we spent like the week before baking all of that, and it was so funny because we literally showed up with like suitcases of stuff, but none of it was our clothes, none of it was our belongings. Like, it was all just these giant glass containers of all these sweet treats. And yeah, so I definitely really enjoyed doing that this year, more of a homemade DIY approach to gifts. I just really, I don't know, something about just like going into the stores and doing all this big Christmas shopping was really not appealing to me this year. I'm not gonna lie. And then for my parents, like my family, my grandma, and my best friend, I also sent them a package in the mail, which I can't really say what that package was, because if they watch this podcast, then they'll spoil the surprise, because it'll take at least another 3 more weeks before they get the package. Okay, this is gonna be stuffed with frangipane. I've never ever had a galette this stuffed with frangipane. And then for Jean and I, we kind of decided, because Jean's birthday is in November, and because I was in Greece for November, I had set a gift for him every single week before I got back. Like 4 weeks before his birthday, I hid a gift in the apartment for him to open while I was gone in Greece. And then when I got back, it was his birthday. And yeah, I gave him his birthday gift. And so it was just like a lot of gift giving already. It kind of felt like an overload to buy a lot of Christmas gifts as well. And then Jean, for me, while I was gone, he made me the beautiful advent calendar, like handmade. And on top of that, for every day, I had a little clue and I had to solve the riddle, and then I can get either chocolate or a gift. And yeah, it was just like a bunch of thoughtful, not necessarily like huge expensive gifts, but things that were really thoughtful. Like, there were 2 handmade ornaments with our pictures. He got me some battery-powered candles, which I am loving this holiday season. Oh my god, he got me a toaster. A shoehorn. I have been asking for a shoehorn for almost a year now. So yeah, just like, oh, and a basketball, a woman's-sized basketball, because this year I switched to the women's team. So yeah, just like really cute, thoughtful gifts. So that was what we did for Christmas this year. I mean, on top of that, I also made him like edible cookie dough. He has been asking for that a while because we tried it at Costco probably 8 months ago, And he's been asking me since if I could, make it. And so yeah, that was our Christmas. Those were our gifts. And then New Year's, we had such a good time. We just went to a little house party with, I think we were 8, like our little friend group. We just had a cute little New Year's together, talking, dancing, eating. Everybody made a dish to bring. Jean and I brought our board games, of course. And I think we were there until 4 a.m, which is like way past my bedtime, but it was really nice. And what's nice too is this group that I spent my New Year's Eve with is also the group that we had planned the ski trip with. And it's just really nice to see these friendships develop into a real group, like a nice group of people that have fun together, that laugh, and that know each other. Like by this point, it's been 3 or 4 years of knowing each other, and so the jokes are more meaningful, the conversation is meaningful because we know so much about each other, and we've been there to support each other through so much. Like they have supported me since day one on my YouTube. One of our other friends has a podcast. We've supported him since day one. Like, I don't know, we played basketball forever together, so it's just nice to see how that group is evolving to be a group of people that I genuinely love spending time with. One thing we didn't do this year though, last year Jean and I put our sort of New Year's goals on champagne bottles. And the intention was to open a champagne bottle for every time we've reached a goal, but I don't love champagne and neither does Jean, and we're not huge drinkers either, so we would each reach a goal and we just wouldn't drink the champagne. So yeah, that was we decided not to do that again this year. But I haven't really thought about my resolutions yet, to be honest. If you guys have any ideas, I would love to hear them. I think that like my YouTube channel, my business, all of that is still in this huge phase of growth and change and learning. And so that's kind of where my mind is at the moment. I think as well for both of us, like obviously I don't want to speak for Jean, but the future's kind of unclear. For a while, we've talked about where we want to live, where we want to settle down. You guys know that I want to move to Italy at some point. So yeah, sometimes it feels like the future's a little bit murky and I don't really know where to focus my energy, but okay, I think the next step is to seal everything. No, I have to add the fev. This one is a little milk bottle. Whenever you eat this, you have to be so careful when you bite down on your piece of cake, your piece of galette, because if you have the fev and you bite down, you don't want to chip a tooth. Yesterday when we were eating the galette that we bought and I bit down on the little boar fev, I was like, thank goodness I didn't chomp down because I would have literally cracked my front tooth in half. Okay. Perfection. Let's add a little bit more water as we go. Okay, final steps. I have to push down this border with a knife, like really get the two stuck together. Then I have to paint an entire egg over it. I hope I have an egg. And then you can personalize a little decoration on top. Okay, I'm gonna do all that because then it has to sit in the fridge for 2 hours. So I'll see you guys in a bit when it's in the oven. Oh my gosh, then we can cut it open together too. Okay, bye. If you were ever wondering why I can't film this podcast after the sunset, This is why we are currently at maximum lighting, okay? It's bad. We're working on it. We do want to get some more overhead lighting, but it's a process. But the galette is out of the oven. It is so cute. I cut myself a tiny piece. I had to, I debated saving the whole thing for Jean tomorrow, but it just came out of the oven. It smelled so good. I'm like, I gotta try it. But I think I remember where I put the fève and I left it for Jean to cut into. But yeah, it looks beautiful. If you have an oven, if you're in Paris, I highly recommend you go pick up one of these kits. I also made myself a hot chocolate. One might call this girl dinner. So back to the podcast notes I've been keeping since early December. The first one that is definitely something I want to talk about is how I don't want to say I stopped, because I didn't necessarily stop, but my most important pictures I'm now taking on my Polaroid. And I think that there was a turning point for me this year when I was filming a lot of content out and about in Paris and not just in my own apartment. Okay, I think it really hit me early December when I had just gotten back from Greece. I started filming my holiday Paris content, so doing the tours of the city with all the Christmas lights and decorations, going to the Grand Palais, going to the Christmas market, going through the Galerie Vivienne, all of that fun holiday Christmas stuff, the Champs-Élysées. And basically what I noticed was that, and I don't want to be critical, this is not me judging or anything like that, but what I noticed is that people would not look at something with their eyes. They would look at something through the lens of their phone. Really similar to what I experienced actually at the Taylor Swift concert last summer. But I would just be walking through the Christmas market and I would be filming a clip to put in my Christmas video, and I would know right away that I would never use this clip because, yes, you had the view of the Christmas market in the foreground, but you also had a sea of people filming and taking pictures. And I don't think it would have shocked me if it was just like a couple people here and there, but it was really like vast amounts of people filming their every move. Like, I'm not talking about a picture or a video. I'm talking like you are walking down the Christmas market with your phone like this, filming the whole thing. You're skating at the Grand Palais with your phone out, filming the whole thing. And it feels a little dystopian, to be honest. I myself, I know, because I film for my job, that if I'm doing something, I will go twice. I'll go once and go for filming purposes, and I'll go a second time and I won't even touch my phone, which is why I started taking the Polaroids. And so the Grand Palais, I told you guys about this story when I was talking about how I broke my hand. We booked 2 tickets in advance. We booked our first night where Jean and I were just literally going to spend time together. And then I booked a second day where I can go and film content because I am so aware of how removed I am when I'm filming something. Like, Jean, it used to happen all the time. I would be filming something and Jean would try and talk to me and I would not retain a single word that he was saying. And so very quickly I was like, no, I have filming days, I have life days, and I really can't mix the two. And I know it's different because I live in Paris. I'm so lucky I get to see the beauty of this city all the time. So of course, someone who's just visiting here on vacation, I understand why you'd want to take pictures and videos, but sometimes it does. I see people looking at something, walking through an area and only looking at the phone and not looking at the whole atmosphere that you're in. And it really made me sad. It makes me sad because, like I said, I film everything in Paris. And so I'm so aware of how it makes my brain work when I'm filming. And also I'm aware of everyone in my clips that I take that are also filming at the same time. And so my solution for this is, because there are memories that I want to capture and I want to keep for the future. So if I'm committing to not taking out my phone and being on my phone and stuff, I don't even want to say committing because I have no attraction to my phone. Like, anyone will tell you, I am so slow to answer messages. I hate being on my phone when I'm with other people. And so anyways, yeah, I still wanted a way to capture memories and be able to look back. And so I've really started to take my Polaroid, I don't want to say everywhere, but to things like New Year's Eve and to Christmas and to our friend board game night. Like, and it's so nice too because the Polaroid, you have one shot. You know, with your phone, you can just like take 100 photos, do all these poses. Like taking a photo is not just taking a photo. It could be a 10-minute affair. But no, when you have a Polaroid, you have one shot and that is it. And I just love it. I love how simple it is. I love how cute the little Polaroid picture is. And it is just such a great way for me to keep those memories without having to also take out my phone. I don't know if you can see. I don't know. I have a purple photo album up there and it's just getting filled with these Polaroids. And it's so interesting to look back because I started this. Well, my friends actually got me the Polaroid 2 years ago. So I've been taking pictures on the Polaroid for 2 years. And so the album is getting full. And it's so cool to look back 2 years ago and see those snapshot moments and be like, wow, that was a nice memory. So yeah, that's one thing I'm implementing in 2025. Okay, so something happened to me last week and actually twice in one day. And I knew I had to talk about it on the podcast because I think it's really interesting. So basically, where I'm at the moment in terms of YouTube videos, itineraries, and consultation calls is that in order to help me really have total knowledge of the city of Paris to make my videos and all that, I have committed to walking down every single street in the city, and it's the best decision I've ever made. It is the most fun and interesting experience ever. And I think specifically for a city like Paris, where there are so many different arrondissements, you typically tend to just pick one or two that are your comfort arrondissements, where you know the restaurants are good, the vibes are good, where you go shopping, you do your groceries, like you have a couple that you go to, and then the rest you never, ever, ever visit. And every arrondissement sort of has their stereotype. So, for example, 18th is like the touristy Montmartre, artsy as well. The Marais, also very eclectic, very artistic, very energetic. 16th, very bourgeoise, like very residential. It's definitely the wealthier of the residential neighborhoods. And so when you stereotype an arrondissement, you kind of write it off. Like, I'm like, why would I go to the 16th or 17th? It's all just residential. And so committing to exploring every arrondissement is really showing me how wrong all of these stereotypes are and how cool it is to venture a little bit outside your comfort zone. And so part of me visiting these arrondissements is testing new restaurants, going into stores, talking to business owners. And something that I'm really enjoying doing on my main channel is interviewing people, interviewing chefs, interviewing artisans, because I really, really like to share French culture. I feel like people follow my channel because they like to learn about France and hear more about France. And so I love being able to share little snippets from French artisans and chefs and all of that to help you better understand and enjoy the culture here. And so last week, I ended up talking in the same day to a gourmet sandwich maker and an antique store owner. And I'm a very chatty person. Like, I walk in, I'm smiling, like I will talk their ear off, you know? And every single person I've ever talked to has always been cheerful and enjoyed the conversation in return, because typically I go to these stores when they're not peak business hours. Like, I'm there at Monday 10 a.m. You know, there's no one coming into their store until way later in the afternoon. So everyone is always really happy to chit chat with me. And so on this day, these two different gentlemen that I met, the conversation ended up circling around to how we are losing the value in art. And in France, you say savoir-faire. I really don't know how it translates to English. Hold on, let me Google it. Actually, I think it just means craftsmanship, maybe. Like honing your craft. People who work with their hands to create beautiful things. Everything from architecture to paintings to jewelry to food. cheese, chocolate, bread, all of that. And it is true, like just generally speaking, I do feel like a lot has become industrialized, and people are less interested in those artisanal jobs and careers. And the first reaction I always get from people when we have this conversation is they say, "Oh, young people don't want to work anymore. They don't want to work hard. They don't want to build things. They just want a computer to do it for them." And I'm like, that is such a generalized statement. Like, it could not be further from the truth, in my opinion. I think there's two things that come into play here. Number one is work-life balance. And this is something that drives me crazy, is just because past generations have been okay sacrificing a healthy work-life balance doesn't mean that we should be critical of future generations that want to have a balance between personal and professional life and who don't necessarily want to work crazy hours 6 or 7 days a week, you know? And I think this will always drive me crazy. I forget which study it was. If I can find it, I'll link it down below. But it was a study done in Europe, and it might have even just been done in France, where they showed that we could get the exact same amount of work done in a 4-day week than as in a 5-day week. And so why are we accepting to work 5 days a week when you could get just as much done, in 4 days? And I say this but obviously I work for myself, so I'm not that implicated in this. So I think there's that. I think that today there is this desire for a healthier work-life balance. I think that people are sort of moving away from the idea that a career is everything, that a career should come before family, before friends, before happiness. But then I think the other problem that potential future artisans are faced with is a cost of living crisis. And it works both ways, because raw materials that you need to handcraft objects, like materials that are sourced ethically and environmentally friendly, are expensive. Creativity and labor is expensive. When you combine those two, the raw materials and the labor behind it, you come to a cost that most people can't really afford today. And if they can, they really have to pick or choose. And so it just amazes me that people can sum up this problem as like, ugh, young people are lazy, when it's just so much more than that. And I think this also reminds me of a conversation. I don't know why it reminds me of this. Maybe we'll think it through, but it reminds me of a conversation that I had with someone over the holidays, a fellow business older, but someone who was significantly older than me. And he was complaining about taxes and having to pay so many taxes, and it's ridiculous. I don't want to, like, whatever. And I turned to him and I'm like, oh yeah, well, the taxes are high, but I love paying taxes. Like, if you ask me, do you enjoy paying taxes? My answer is yes. I love it. I love contributing to a social system where people have access to healthcare and to support when they need it. Like, we're not all born equal. I am happy to contribute into a system where we can help those who need it. And I think as well, like, as someone who has been on every single end of this, I've mentioned this a million times, like my family literally immigrated to Canada fairly recently. I immigrated to France. I work very hard, but unfortunately, 2 years ago I was laid off, and I'm just eternally grateful for a system that doesn't just literally kick people while they're down. And so we were talking about this tax system because, it is fairly high. I don't know if I've ever mentioned, I'm sure I have mentioned this, because when I was talking about why it's not really feasible for me to do guided tours of Paris, I mentioned that, the tax system would mean that I would have to charge like way higher than I would want to be able to make like minimum wage. Because in France, in order to pay for a lot of the, I don't know what they're called, not workers' rights, social services around employment, the employer does have to pay a pretty high tax. So you pay 20% VAT tax right off the bat. But then anytime you pay a salary, you have to pay 55% in tax to the government. So if you wanted to pay someone $1, you would have to actually pay $1.55. If I wanted to earn 1,000 euros a month, I would have to actually pay 1,550 euros, not even including the VAT tax that I would also pay on top of that. So it is a lot of money. I totally get it. But again, like I am thrilled to pay that. I love contributing to this system. Always. And so I turn to him and I tell him that. And he goes, yeah, well, I don't care. It's still too much money. And I'm like, well, here's the thing, man. Like, I'm pretty happy. How much money do you need to be happy? And he goes, well, I'm very happy. Like, I'm happy, like defensive that he's happy. And I'm like, okay, well, if you are very happy with the life you live, what do you need all of that extra money for? Aren't you happy that you're happy and you can help your community? Isn't that awesome? Like, if you have reached your threshold of happiness, what could you possibly need more money for? And he didn't have an answer for me. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, I don't know. And I think this all just connects in some form of happiness and fulfillment. And I think another reason it connects is because all of these people I spoke to were, older men. And I felt like when they said young people are lazy and like, I don't want to pay taxes, I felt like they were not just attacking me because I consider myself a young person, but also my values, because I think the tax system makes sense, and that I think contributing to it makes sense. So yeah, a couple interesting conversations that I had recently. But it just like, it baffles me, especially the young people are lazy. Every time I hear that, I'm like, man, you have misunderstood, I think, not just young people, but what is going on in the world. It is so lame to just chalk up all these problems to young people are lazy. Okay, I think this was actually such a bad idea because we're almost at 10:30 p.m. and I can feel like I'm giddy. I can feel kind of excited because I'm doing the podcast so late at night. So hopefully I'll be able to sleep tonight. I'm going to an art gallery with 2 girlfriends tomorrow, and we're also going for brunch, but to avoid those Paris Sunday brunch lines, we're trying to get there early, which means I have to get up early. So yeah, this was not a great idea, I think, to do this so late. I guess the last thing I'll mention are the 2 videos that I'm working on. Oh my God. One of these videos I have literally been working on since November, like even when I was in Greece. It's a thrifting vintage video. And I'm also working on our next apartment transformation video as well, because the day is here. The day is here. We have finally ordered a couch. And you're like, Arielle, you have a couch. You've always had a couch. And yes, we may have had a couch, but it is the most uncomfortable couch in the world. Like, you can't prop your feet up. It's very narrow, so you can't sit on it comfortably. It's very thin. Like, it is not comfortable. And we've been trying to find, I think it's called a sectional or an angle couch that fits in the space we have, because we can't have a really long couch. We need like half of a long couch, if that makes sense. And one of the biggest reasons in our apartment that we have these measurement constraints is because we had a dinner table that was 5 times too big for just Jean and I. It was like a dinner table for 6 people. And I bought it from my old apartment and we brought it to this one, and I just really didn't want to sell it, because when I bought it from like ethical, sustainable woodworking company in Portugal. And at the time, not at the time, just, that's the kind of furniture, if I'm not buying secondhand, I do want to make sure I'm buying something like sustainable and ethical, where people are earning a living wage. But that just meant that it was a pricey table, a lot more than a lot more than an IKEA wood table would cost, for example. And so I knew that if I was going to ever sell that table, I would lose so much money. But at the end of the day, I was like, Arielle, you know what? It is what it is. it's too big of a table for you guys, whatever. So we sold it. I sold it for 1/4 of the price that I bought it for, which was sad, but you know, I actually think less than that. I think I probably sold it for 1/5 of the price that it was, but it is what it is. We got rid of the big table, and I found this gorgeous marble table. It's right beside me. I wish I could show you guys, but you'll see in the next apartment transformation video. I found this gorgeous marble table on Le Bon Coin, which is the website we use to sell and buy secondhand items, but it was a little bit outside of Paris. A lot outside of Paris, actually. It was like almost an hour. So we rented a car, we went to go pick it up. And so now we have this tiny little marble bistro table, and it is so cute. It is such an improvement because with the big table, eating meals with Jean, we were like not far apart, but we weren't cozy couple at a table. And so having a bistro sized table is just so cute. I love eating dinner and breakfast with him in the morning. It's just so cute. But it also means that now we have more space for a bigger couch, and not that we got a bigger couch, but at least there's just more space in the apartment. And so we have ordered the couch. I'll put a picture on the screen. It is an IKEA modulable couch, so you can separate all the pieces. Yeah, I think couches and mattresses are just two pieces of furniture that I don't think I would ever feel comfortable buying secondhand in Paris, because it does kind of kill me to buy a brand new couch from IKEA. It is so rare that I buy anything brand new, like extremely rare. So it is a pretty big deal that I'm buying this couch. Not me. We're buying this couch brand new, but the reason why couches and mattresses are non-negotiable for me, I'm sure you guys can maybe guess, but I don't ever want to even come close to bringing a bed bug in this house. Knock on wood. So yeah, any furniture that has cloth in it, I prefer to buy from a store. So yes, anyways, we'll have a new couch coming in, and once I have the couch as well, I can change this chair. Oh my goodness. This chair is the bane of my existence. It is so uncomfortable, and it's huge. And because the actual chair portion where you sit isn't glued to the bottom portion, it just falls all the time. It's so loud. Whoever said this chair was a good idea, I don't know what planet they were living on. Like, I cannot wait to get rid of this chair and find something else to sit in and like more comfortably film the podcast. So yeah, you have those two videos that are coming. I'm very excited. And I think that's it. I think I need to calm down, maybe make myself a chamomile tea, relax my heart rate. I'm actually really excited for tomorrow. We're going to the Dolce & Gabbana exhibit. So I'll report back and let you guys know if I think it's worth it, because it was definitely pricey. The tickets were 30 euros, which is way more than any other exhibit in this city. Like, the maximum is going to be 20. So yeah, 30 euros was kind of shocking, but maybe it's for a good reason. Again, it's at the Grand Palais, and I don't have the best luck with the Grand Palais, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, because I am going to post next week with a little question box. You guys can submit topics or questions for me for the next podcast. And yeah, I hope you guys have a really good week, and I'll see you in the next one.